Today, I wanted to talk to you about an idea that popped in my head recently, and I think it'll kind of help us all. And it's about the programmer and the algorithm and how we can take more control over our lives by just kind of having a different mindset. So, I'm going to talk to you about that today. Hey, everybody, my name is Brian, and I'm here in my forest. This is the place I like to come to. It's near my house. I don't own it, but it's near my house, and I created this channel just because I want to, my mission is to empower people to use gratitude in their lives to make their lives better. And so that's why I do this. I had a medical emergency last year, almost passed away, and so gratitude's been a big part of my life. And I had made a video not too long ago about the what I called the algorithm analogy. And because I make these YouTube videos, I've learned so much about this algorithm. And, what I want to talk about today is how we can control our lives a little bit more with that concept. And one reason I've always had a problem with that concept. So the concept is this, you think about positive things and you get more positive things in your life. That's one of the powers of gratitude. And I compared it to the algorithm on YouTube because if you click on videos that you like, you're going to get more of things that you like. And if you happen to click on negative videos, you're going to get more negative videos. And when I talk about that algorithm analogy, the idea is how YouTube works, in that if you click on videos that are positive, the algorithm is going to send you more positive videos. If you click on things that are kind of negative, the algorithm is going to send you more negative things. And the algorithm is impersonal. It doesn't care. It's just a program, right? Um, and so sometimes I gave the example of how, I like to study languages and I'm studying Russian and suddenly it's showing me these interviews with people in Russia that I liked. Then it offered me to show, or showing me videos of soldiers and their comments about the war in Ukraine. And then before I know it, I'm watching videos of prisoners of war in Russia in these prisons. I'm like, how did this happen? I wasn't trying to look at this negative stuff, but if I'm not careful, the algorithm just will take me down that path. And our mindset can be like that. If we start thinking negative thoughts before we know it, we're kind of grounded in negativity and negative thoughts and we don't even realize it. So I love this analogy, and a lot of people talk about it in different ways. But one of the problems I've always had with this concept, when you talk about, and I'm going to use the term manifestation, or some people call it law of attraction. And again, I want you all to just take these principles at a high level that you can apply to your life, because not everybody believes in that kind of stuff. And I'm going to talk about topics today like even God. Spoiler alert, God's the programmer. um, but I'm going to talk about these kinds of things. So just keep an open mind, if you will. Take what you like, leave the rest. And so my problem with that whole law of attraction manifestation kind of concept is it's always felt impersonal to me. And I hate the idea of like, oh well, the life is just an algorithm, and it's all these mathematics, and there isn't something caring. It's all just you feed it. Sometimes they call it the mirror, and the mirror just reflects back to you what you give it. All this stuff. And I was like, well, I don't, it feels so impersonal. And I grew up in a Christian household, and I'm used to a loving God. And sometimes I feel like they make the universe seem so impersonal. Well, it popped in my head the other day. I was talking to even AI. I talk to AI a lot. I think it's fun. Gemini on Google. And I said, I was talking to it, and it finally hit me talking to AI and thinking about the algorithm. I was like, wait, AI, Gemini, someone programmed you to think the way you think. I mean, we think about AI knowing all this stuff, but I was like, well, somebody programmed you. You have a programmer. And then it dawned on me, wait, the YouTube algorithm has a programmer. Somebody is programming the algorithm. Someone is programming the AI. And that's when I kind of had this big aha moment of, now I see the loving part of manifestation, because it always seems like it's so impersonal. Oh, I click on positive videos, I get more positive things. If I reflect positivity out, positivity comes back, but it's just this calculated analysis algorithm, and it's impersonal and cold. Now I finally realized there's the programmer. And for me, that programmer is my concept of God. I believe in God. And you can have the programmer be whatever. But I mean, I was kind of thinking that the algorithm was the universe, and in a way it is. So it's kind of like God, the programmer, created the algorithm so that we can learn how to control our lives a little bit better because we're clicking on different videos. And part of that for me is also gratitude. I'm clicking on grateful videos, just like you have clicked on grateful videos to find me. I'm clicking on the same thing. So I feel so much better knowing that I can have, in my opinion, a personal relationship with the programmer, who created this. And the algorithm is just kind of like a law, like the law of gravity and all that sort of stuff. It's something I can't explain, but at least I know who the programmer is. Then yesterday, for some reason, I had the thought, it popped in my head. And again, I think when these thoughts pop in my head, that's kind of like because I'm clicking on the right things or the things I want to see more of. And so sometimes I'll have thoughts just pop in my head. If you've ever been in the shower or something and some thought pops in your head, I kind of think it's kind of that idea. And I was thinking, I was like, you know what? In my Christian tradition, they say, we're made in the likeness of God. And I believe that God, I've always thought about how God wants us to be co-creators with him or her, whatever you want to, for me it's him, but however you want to define it. But I think God wants to be co-creators. And so then I had this realization yesterday. I was like, wait a second. I view myself as this, I'm playing a video game in this video game, this Matrix, this whatever, and I'm the player. But suddenly it dawned on me, the programmer wants to teach me how to be a programmer too, And that's a pretty profound realization, to think that we can learn to be programmers as well. And so suddenly I had this image of, instead of me being on this side of the algorithm trying to click on the right videos, I suddenly saw myself on that side with the programmer, and the programmer teaching me how to program the algorithm, so that way I have more of an influence and I can program it for me through gratitude. Gratitude is what helps me program that algorithm. So the profound thing for that, and I think the big takeaway, at least for me and I hope for you, is that we have more power, more ways of influencing our lives and our world than just clicking on the buttons, And then it actually dawned on me, as like, even with this very scenario right here, for years I just clicked on YouTube videos, and now I'm on this side of YouTube. You're clicking the videos and you're seeing me. I'm programming what's coming through my channel, and I'm already kind of learning to be a little, junior programmer. So anyway, I had that realization. I love it. I love the idea of being a co-programmer, learning to program, and I think that really helps me a lot in my mindset. Hope it does you too. So let me know what you think. I know these ideas can be kind of new to some folks. Maybe it might seem a little bit out there. I try not to be too out there, especially on this channel and in my own life. I think balance is important. I've seen some people take these kind of concepts that I think maybe a little too far. So I'm not trying to do that. But I like playing with these ideas because it makes me feel better. We want to feel like we have control in our lives, and I choose to believe that we do. And gratitude is definitely something that I use to help shape my world. So what about you? What kind of things does this idea resonate with you? Does it make sense? I'd love to know what you think. So if you would leave a comment, let me know about anything. Do you like the concept? Do you not like the concept? Uh, you know, how does that how does that manifest in your life? How do you employ these kind of ideas? I'd love to know that. And again, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You've clicked on something that brought me to you. And that's why I hope that you all will like and subscribe, because then it lets YouTube know who else to send it to. That algorithm knows who to send this information to. So I really appreciate that. And this is all just a lot of fun. Oh, by the way, I decided I'd try a new place in the forest. Did I mention that? So anyway, I am really grateful for each and every one of you. And I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thanks for joining me.